Right, so for my informative speech, I chose to do it on the evolution of video games, which some might find to be nerdy, childish. It's just something I liked and wanted to inform you guys on. Um, Most people might think video games probably started like late 80s, 90s. But in fact, it goes way back, almost to 1960s when they first came out with the very first console and video game known as Pong. It's just like playing, not beer pong, but ping pong. So as you can see on the bottom right, it was just a little small box TV and a little console where you would just move that little white bar up and down just to hit the ball back and just score. Could get competitive, but I just find it to be boring compared to video games nowadays, which of course it is because that was like 50 years ago. Um, as you can see on the other side, you got characters that you could probably already just name off right off the bat, just seeing them because they're everywhere, and there's always video games releasing on characters like them, like Zelda, Mario, um, Donkey Kong, Kirby. These characters have been around for 40, 50 plus years. And that's why people are still in love with playing those video games today because that was their childhood and it's just leading more on to their adulthood. So I feel like that's just still, I don't know, I feel like video games lets people keep their inner childhood alive within them because everybody still wants to be a kid inside, I guess, sort of. Um, and then you'll see the evolution of basically consoles. There's Sony, they make PS4s. You got Microsoft, which makes Xboxes. Nintendo, which makes like Nintendo Switches or like the Wii's and stuff like that. Nintendo Switch is big nowadays, but nobody really uses a Wii. It's kind of just sitting there in your corner, just letting dust collect. Um, Other than that, everything pretty much beyond 2000 was really well, more like 1995 and past, and before that was really like big consoles. Like everything was huge because they couldn't learn how to compact all these little wirings and compressors and stuff like that, hard drives, all that stuff into one little box. That they had these giant towers just to hold all this, which I just think is crazy because nowadays we have these little handheld. I could just a portable thing. I could just grab it from my house or take it over to my friends or whatever, and we could go play together. It's just so small and compact now. So it's really changed over the years. So to really start off into the what everybody loves and what pretty much started most people on video games was Pac-Man and Donkey Kong and Space Invaders. These were some of the first video games that like really grasp people. Like this, I'm personally connected to this subject just because like my father, he was and his friends used to play this game. Like I've played this game because my grandpa has these in his like I guess you could call it his quote unquote man's cave, but he just keeps like signatures and stuff like that and very vintage arcade games in his house. So I've seen these and I've played them. I know most people are probably like, "What the hell are these?" Or they know what they are and they just haven't played an arcade game like that unless they go to Peter Piper Pizza or Dave and Buster's. Um, but really, video games has connected my family as a whole, which is kind of odd to say. I mean, my little brother plays them. Shit, my apologies. My little sister even plays them. My dad, everybody, like almost everybody nowadays is virtually connected in some way through social media or even through video games. Like half the time, me and my friends are talking through our headsets, playing video games, getting along. That's how we bond with each other. And especially through a time like right now in quarantine, all we really have to do is pretty much play video games, stay inside, or try and find a job because there's not much to do right now. But this really was the prime time of kids' lives back then. And this was kind of like the prime time of my life as a little kid, too, even though I was playing on some more advanced stuff than this. And yeah, I didn't have to leave my humble abode, where in this case you did, but this manufactured a lot of money for these companies, and this is why they're so huge today, and they still have things like this. I'm just glad I get to talk about the overall just history of video games in general. Um, to move along, I mean, Mrs. Pac-Man is technically considered the best-selling video game of all time. Even though it's been 50, 40 plus years, people could sell that certain arcade, that machine, for like thousands of dollars just because people like collecting that stuff. It's just like a hobby for them. I think it's crazy, but it's cool. It's very cool. But this is more like the 80s and the real startup beginning of video games, like, or just games in general. This is just like the start of like the big time ones. And this is where we more move along into pretty much the well-known like games that people still play today, that the games that are still around really, because you got Sonic the Hedgehog, like shoot, a movie just came out about that, a movie, and people still love that. It was a TV show, everything. I watched that as a kid. Like that's still a big thing. Like it's just crazy how this, just culture-wise, this is crazy. You can see the little video games within there. You got Donkey Kong, Doom. There's a movie about that. Mortal Kombat. Like shoot, there's movies about that. There's movies about everything. Like this, video games really are more than just a game. They really expand on life itself because it's toys, games, movies. It just expands into so much, and like it really just makes a person. Shoot, Tron. That's a movie from the '80s, a game in the '80s, and it got remade into another movie like 5, 10 years ago. I don't even know. So it's just crazy how this stuff just really connects like that. For instance, look at this. This is 1988. This is the first Madden evolution. This is when Bo Jackson was just running all over the field on everybody. And then you look at 2020. That's Patrick Mahomes. Like, look at how far this stuff's come. I just think it's crazy that this stuff has been around for that long, and like, just so many people can connect virtually through this stuff. It's just mind-boggling. And like, this game, like Pac-Man's 1980, Space Invaders was 1987, or not 1987, 1978. Donkey Kong was 1981, and if you didn't know, Mario's in that game as well. So that really got Mario pretty popular because people, you were running up the ladder while he was trying to throw the barrel down at you. So that really made him more popular, and Donkey Kong. All right, let's see here. All right, now we're getting more into our modern day games, the ones that don't let kids leave the house or even get a scrape on their knee or even know what a scooter or a bike is. It's all right. I do the same thing. But really, though, this really does keep kids inside, and I don't see kids go outside like ever anymore. Not just because it's quarantine, just in general. Um, some of your bigger games in the modern day now are just like Mortal Kombat, Madden's, the NFL, like the football games, the basketball games. They're still very popular. People are never going to stop playing those because they're always going to be something different, something new, because there's new players being added to those teams every year and something different. Like, just always going to be playable. Technology is always advancing, so there's always something different to do. And look at how long PlayStations last. 20 years? 20 years? And this is just to 2014. They're going to come out with a new console at the end of this year in 2020, which is, they've just been around for so long, and their main competition is Xbox. So they've really just created a market to where they could just please themselves with all the money and please the consumers. But more so, to transition, these are now, you don't even have to leave your house to play these. These are your new, this is the new era of video games. This is everything I do. This is everything everybody else does nowadays. This is even what my dad has somehow figured out how to play, even though it's sometimes funny watching older people play because it looks like they just don't know what they're doing. Um, but for instance, you got Minecraft. That used to be one of the biggest games of all time. Probably still is. Came out like 10 years ago. It's very kiddish, but people still love playing that stuff, and I hate it. I don't like that game. I just don't. It's boring. Walk around, build, mine. I could just do that in real life. Fortnite, that's also a game changer. That's changed everybody's lives. It's made kids into millionaires and made families have their kids pursue video games as a career because they could just make millions like that in a second. Just from winning one game, just from being, it's literally become a pro sport. It's a sport basically now. We're not going to be watching football and basketball on TV anymore. Well, I mean, we still are, but I mean, you're going to see video games getting live stream on TV nowadays. I've been seeing it on TNT or like Spike TV. Sometimes you'll see like Mortal Kombat tournaments or just tournaments like that in general for thousands of dollars, which I don't think is a bad bargain for me to just twiddle my thumbs for a couple. Um, and furthermore, I personally play Xbox. I know a lot of people hate on that. It's going to be an ongoing dispute for years. Who's better, PlayStation or Xbox players? So I'm just going to keep my opinion out of that. But I know I'm going to get roasted by somebody watching this that I play Xbox and they play PS4. But just in conclusion, I just wanted to express something that I enjoy and something that I'm connected to, and just wanted to share the overall history of video games because people do think it's like a nerdy thing and just like dorky, but no, I guess it is, but at the same time, it's just a fun pastime and a hobby to really like connect with friends and family. And I just wanted to share a little bit of a pastime, like a hobby, and a little bit of myself to my fellow classmates and everybody else, just to really just broaden their eyes, and maybe they can just play video games now. This might have like inspired somebody, like, you know what, maybe I can make a couple $1,000 off of getting good at a video game, become a millionaire, and help out my family. So you never know where the world will take you. So I hope this inspired people to play video games if they haven't, or just gain some type of knowledge on the subject. And I just wanted to thank everybody to stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you.